Welcome everyone. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Hayden Urban Renewal Agency. I'm Randy McIntyre. Rhonda Mitchell is absent today, so she asked me if I could fill in. Could we have a roll call of the board members, please?
Rhonda Mitchell, Steve Meyer, Colin Meehan, Randy McIntyre,
Here.
Michael Thayer,
Here.
Matt Roeder,
I'm here.
Joy Richards,
Here.
Thank you.
Pledge of allegiance.
Yep.
All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? The one that's posted is valid?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have any conflicts of interest on today's agenda?
No.
Only have one visitor. Do we have any public comments or any visitors that'd like to talk to us? We have somebody.
She's gonna present. They're gonna present.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to the consent calendar then. Are there any corrections or on the consent calendar from last time?
I have none.
Action item. Motion to approve.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I second it.
Thank you. Moved and
We need a roll call.
seconded. We need to, that's just is that a roll call vote?
That's just a voice vote, yeah.
Just a vote. All in favor of approving the consent calendar?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent calendar is approved. Thank you. Our continuing business, we have the HURA plan amendment and feasibility study. And are we going to get a report on that?
Yes, so that's what Olivia Metz and Megan Conrad are here for, to give the presentation. And then the next item on the agenda is the resolution recommending approval. So let me help Olivia find her presentation. All right. Presentations. I don't see it. Did she respond to you that she put it on here? No. Okay. Let's see.
Maybe Megan can share her screen.
Let me see. I don't know what that. I have so many things shut down for this. So let's see. Megan.
Megan, we're going to turn it over to you, so if you could share the presentation since we don't have it. Can you do that for us?
Yep. Great.
Thank you. Perfect.
I think I can close that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you are. You're sharing it.
Well, I'm sharing my version of it. I'm not sharing the one Olivia sent. So
Okay.
let me.
Let's go with this. I'll go see if Amber can quick put it where it's supposed to be, and if not, then we'll go with this.
I do not, because
That's fine. Either way.
Mailed it this morning to Amber.
That's okay. I mean, I
I mean,
think
I can just go check.
I
it.
have all of the numbers in here. I could just preview it, and I think
Every now and then she won't, like it'll go to junk or it'll, I don't know. It's,
You emailed it this morning?
oh, you're
yeah,
sharing the calendar,
I
Megan.
received it this morning.
Oh, she's gonna.
Huh?
Actually, she can.
It's on, I didn't save it. I just saw it on my email
Megan's
this morning.
grabbing it right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you all for allowing us to be here. My name is Olivia Metz with the Metz Group. I conducted the feasibility study as part of the broader Urban Renewal Capital Development Plan amendment. And so I'm going to just kind of dive in. The numbers changed pretty dramatically from the last draft because the county numbers changed dramatically because we were using 2023 numbers. So, but it all worked out really well in the end with the project list as well as the overall end result with the cash flow. So I think it still worked out really well. Megan, can you please slide 3 there? So there were some updated assessment values that changed from 2023 to 2025, as well as the county confirmed a change in base from the 2005 plan that we were using, and it's what they currently say the base was is 48 million and not 61 million. And then I was able to get more accurate numbers from Melissa with the kind of depicting a little bit more accurate what's going on with the agency, because I was using the 2024 audit. So what we have now is much more updated projected numbers as far as what the carryover of the beginning balance was a big difference too. So that all really gleaned well for the cash flow. The levy rate, we still only have the 2024 levy rate. So what I did was conservatively adjust it downward so that it would adjust for what 2025 would look like because the base values did increase. So, and then what in the model I project the levy rate to continue to go down 2% each year. And so, and that's just as development occurs, it typically lowers the levy rate. And so, and then the infrastructure scope, the project list was refined and vetted by you all. So I think we have a great, we did a lot of checks and balances between Melissa, the county, and I. And so I think this is a good representation of where we stand. So the next slide is the project list that you all vetted.
And you guys have this in your packet if that's too small.
So the total proposed amount of infrastructure cost is $9.145 million. And that includes, and we have these by priorities, mainly from a cash flow perspective and how you want it to occur over the life of the rest of the district. So, and that's, as I can walk through this with Melissa to make sure that the cash flow is representing what you all are thinking of from a construction perspective. And so, so the Civic Center is high priority, then City Hall, McIntyre Park, and then the intersection road improvements. And we were able to fit it all into the one project list. And then the following list is if there ends up being funds more that become available that were not expected, then these are some additional projects that could be funded. Of course, as you all, each of these projects, just for the record, will be coming back to you for approval too. So it's not like you have to approve them right now. It's just in the plan so that we make sure that we are accounting for them. And then on the next slide, the projected ending balance is based on all of the revenues and the normal operating costs that were provided by Melissa, which I feel like is a lot more accurate than we had before, is 9.16 million, and the prioritized project cost comes in at 9.15. So it is feasible based on that, as well as the projected forecasted revenues. So on the next slide is basically the conclusion. So while the expansion area is really small and it won't generate a lot of increment, the larger district will create the increment to help fund the prioritized projects. So and as you all know, and a testament to how we got here today, Government Way is well in need of those infrastructure improvements. And so, and more importantly, the expansion area does not go beyond the statutory 10% threshold. It's much lower. With that, the next slide is just the cash flow, and that's all also in your packet. It's very small here, but the gist of this is everything's in black each year and nothing is in red. And so that's really the goal, is to make sure that it's feasible from a cash flow perspective, but also making sure that those prioritized projects are fitting within the limit of how much increment would be coming in. Any questions on the feasibility study? I know that was kind of quick overview, but that's kind of the high level, but feel free to review it and look through it. I'm sure you guys already had a chance to, but if you have any questions.
I read through the whole thing. This was extremely well done, and you know, in your conclusion, I think you did a really good job with that last sentence. Without the expansion, these projects would fall outside of the district and might not be funded at all, which was the entire goal when we started this, what, 18 months ago? Maybe more. And so you guys did a very thorough job. I was impressed.
Thank you. It was a team effort. And I was really excited how the numbers ended up falling out. Like at first I was like, oh my gosh, the county's going back and forth, and I didn't think it was gonna work out, but ultimately it worked out, and I think it's a very accurate depiction of where you are heading over the next 4 years. So if anybody doesn't have any more questions, I'm going to turn it over to Megan.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you again for having me at your meeting. Just an overarching reminder about the framework of how we set this up is we started with your existing urban renewal plan, and the First Amendment is... Are you getting any feedback, or are you okay on your end?
We're okay.
Okay. So the First Amendment is really intended to only touch those sections that are necessary to be touched for purposes of the First Amendment itself, and to also update the plan to provide for some statutory changes that have occurred over the last, since the plan was adopted. And so, you really do need to consider this as an amendment as opposed to an amended and restated, where we would come to you with an entirely new urban renewal planning package. So your original project area was 720 acres and was established in 2005. It terminates in 2029, but you do get the revenues from the 2025 values in 2030. So that's where we're starting here. As we've discussed, and this is very similar to the presentation that we went through last month, and so I just will provide some high-level updates, and I'm happy to stand for any questions. But as you know, there are nodes that we're adding into your existing district, and these nodes are shown on the map. And they, based on the surveyed map and legal, it did change the acreage. It was originally anticipated to be a little bit over 18 acres. Once we have the legals done and they do take in maybe some portion of a right-of-way or a little bit expansive beyond the parcel boundary line, it does end up totaling 19.225 acres. So the purpose, again, is to add critical projects to enhance the intersections and improve traffic flow and safety, and it does support the existing and planned public improvements within the original project area. Whenever we talk about the plan amendment process, it is the same as if you were starting an urban renewal plan from scratch, especially if we're adding area in. And so when we talk about the eligibility phase, that's where we looked at the nodes and made that eligibility determination. Both the agency and the city signed off on the eligibility. And then there was direction for agency board consideration of the First Amendment, and that's really where we are at today. To the extent this does move forward, the dates outlined below are what we anticipate to be the next steps moving forward to get this through the process by December 31 of this year. And if we do so, then we have a retroactive date for the new area coming in of January 1, 2025. It doesn't change the existing base value date of January 1, 2005 for your existing revenue allocation area. Let's see. So this is, your 2005 plan is a pre-July 1, 2016 plan and revenue allocation area, so you don't have to be so concerned about the plan amendments that are limited by 50-2903A. Even so, the amendment to add area up to 10% of the original acreage of the revenue allocation area is an accepted amendment. That's not a modification that would trigger a base reset. So you're good. And as mentioned, your plan amendment follows the same track as a new plan, and so 50-2905 outlines everything that you have to have in an urban renewal plan. And so what we've done here is show the specific section that addresses the required plan element. And you will see a significant portion of the elements are addressed by this economic feasibility as supplemented by the economic feasibility study that Olivia just went through. And so just as a quick reminder as well, this amendment does not extend the duration of the district. You continue to have to live within the confines of that termination date of 29 with the anticipated revenues to flow in 2030. Just a quick note about the legislative changes that occurred in the 2025 legislative session. There are, as you know, EMS and fire districts have the ability to make a request to withdraw from an existing district. And that may be an annual request, it could be. And so for the existing district, there's no contemplation that the agency will not get those levies. But if there is some recognition that, you know, if it does happen, if there is a withdrawal that's accepted, there could be less revenues flowing to the agency. And then on the flip side, for an amendment area, technically to have the EMS and fire district levies available to generate revenue for the amendment area only, there are consents that have to be obtained from the EMS and fire district. For purposes of economic feasibility, those levy rates were included in the analysis of the amendment area. But as Olivia indicated, the revenue from the amendment area is only anticipated to drive about $19,000 worth of revenues to the project for the remainder of the life of the district. So even, and the anticipated levy rate that was used for the next fiscal year was already depreciated a little bit. So it's not, if for some reason the consents aren't obtained, there's not going to be a significant impact to your economic feasibility study from the amendment area. Here's just another quick summary of some additional requirements. You have your 10% value limitation, which means your combined base assessment roll or your base assessment rolls plus your amendment area can't exceed 10% of the total taxable value of the city. You're well within that number. There's a 10% geographic limitation. You're under the 72 acres, so you're within that number. We talked about the fire and ambulance district. And then there are surveyed maps and legals in your packets as attachments 1A and 2A to the plan amendment. And just so you're aware, those maps were circulated to the State Tax Commission for a pre-check to make sure they met the State Tax Commission requirements. and that the boundaries didn't overlap with the existing district. And so all of those maps should be ready to go. The plan requires just a little bit of an overlay on your future land use map and your zoning maps to just show what those uses are in your proposed amendment areas. So those are shown here. They're also an attachment to the plan itself. So yeah, with that, you have before you a resolution in your packet. If you would like to consider next steps on this. Again, the goal is if this is moved forward, that this plan gets through the process by December 31. But with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions.
And I did include the maps in your packet, and they're in color, so you should.
I have a question. It might be more of a key question on the amendment, assuming we'll be voting on it. There were two red lines that were missed, page 10 and page 13, that were just, I think, adjusting. I mean, one went from $19,037 to $19,232. One went from 6.1 to $6.2 million. I mean, they're just fixing typos, but it's okay to vote on a red line amendment.
Yeah, and I can just speak to just the red line really quickly. As documents were transmitted to Pete and Melissa for review, there had been like one tweak to the economic feasibility study, and so that just had a slight impact as what you see in the red line. Certainly if this was approved moving forward, those red lines would just come out, but I defer to Pete.
The corrections are shown though.
Yeah, the corrections are shown.
I left them in on purpose.
Thinking
that's what I would.
I assumed it was fine. I just wanted to see if it changed the motion or anything was really what I was driving at. I have no questions.
Yeah, do you have questions?
No, I don't, other than I did make some comments. I mean, this plan amendment meets the goals that, from my point of view as a council member, that we needed to improve certain intersections and we needed to get a certain amount of area around those intersections into the district. So we were able to do that, and obviously we were able to meet those two 10% requirements of not going over 10% of valuation or area. And it's not an amendment to gain a bunch more increment, because it's only $19,000. So, but it accomplishes what we need to improve these intersections. And I know it's a lot of work by a lot of people, but it had to be done. So I thank those that were all involved.
Agreed.
I think the land
Yeah.
that was required was very conservative. I mean, it's a very conservative amount of land that was added to the district, and that land was all necessary to be able to complete the projects that the city had in mind. So I don't think there was any waste. There was
No grab, there was no grab.
There was no grab, it was absolutely the minimum that could be done to complete these projects.
And I want to make a clarification, because there was concern by one council member that urban renewal somehow grabs land. And this does not grab and change ownership. All what it does is designates property that was outside the district, inside the district, and does not affect ownership whatsoever. So just want to make that clear also.
Yeah, that's a great point. And going back to Olivia's presentation with the forecast of the cash flow, to sunset the district with, 20 grand in the bank estimated, that's really an amazing outcome for the city to be able to spend that money in a short amount of time to improve the infrastructure of the city.
I do have a question, because some point in your presentation, you mentioned that if there's some unknown monies that come in, could you maybe explain where those unknown monies, I'm always interested to know where we would get unknown monies.
Well, it could just be assessed values are higher and you get more increment as a result, or, you know, development may occur in certain areas and just, so we always like to put that as a caveat because we want that flexibility in the plan to allow for the flexibility of additional projects, whether you want to change up your priorities even, it just allows for flexibility.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
Well, I move to approve resolution 25-03, a recommendation of First Amendment to the HURA plan.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Randy McIntyre,
Yes.
Michael Thayer,
Yes.
Matt Roder,
Yes.
Joy Richards,
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. And we have
Long time
reports
coming.
coming up.
Oh, gosh.
Civic Center update, and the executive director's report. If I can
Yeah.
work them together.
Give the updates on the reports. So we're still working on the Civic Center. The most recent update is last week, kind of last minute. Steve and I, together with one of the Hayden Senior Center board members, also named Rhonda, so it's confusing. That Rhonda, we toured what's called the Lake City Center, which is Coeur d'Alene's senior center, and it did two things. It gave Steve and I a good idea about like the spaces and what they're used for and how big they are and how many people the kitchen, all of that kind of stuff. But for Rhonda, the board member from the senior center, it gave her a really good idea about the level of programming that could occur if they had a great space. So, I mean, the amount of programming they do out of the Lake City Center is phenomenal. Basically, they're using their space all the time, every day. And lots of groups come in and rent their spaces. Pretty much every day, she was saying. So it is a sustainable operation if you can get to that kind of level. So that was really great. I imagine Nancy Phillips, that is the director of the Lake City Center, is super generous with her time. So I imagine that we can organize another tour and go through it in, a little bit more length, and people can come with and that type of thing, because she was just an absolute wealth of information. But we got there at 3 and she had a board meeting at 4, so we were kind of like going through it in a flurry. But so I put my notes from, just a little bit of my notes from that meeting here in the packet. So I think that next steps is to kind of go back and refine our concept plan just a bit more, with buy-in from the Hayden Senior Center, so that we can get to the point where we're ready to go back to the architect with a little bit more clarity on what we're looking for. So that's where we're at. And any questions on Civic Center updates? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. It's still a concern of mine, because I've heard this for quite a while about how much control the senior center wants over a facility. And I heard you say that it's rented out, Lake City is rented out to a lot of groups.
Yeah.
Have you discussed what this relationship would be like between community events that could be held there and what the seniors would want to have control of and not let other uses?
Right. It's a conversation that's still ongoing. If you remember, we kind of went to this a little bit different model where there's a senior center part and then there's like a community room, a community center part. So the seniors would I know they would like to have control over their whole part, right? And then they can rent space, and it sounds like from the Lake City Center that that's a gigantic portion of their revenue that they use for operating expenses. So being able to have events there and even cater them, and all of that. But they wouldn't control the community room. The community room would be for the city and city organizations that the city wanted to allow in there. My understanding is, Lisa's still here, my understanding is the city doesn't have the same ability to like rent space and use it for operating expenses. I don't think I answered your question because you look just as confused.
Well, I'm just thinking like, well then, who's in charge of the building? I mean, is it gonna be ultimately the senior center that has total management of it? And is it gonna be, maybe I'm getting into too many details right now, but I think it's something we need to make sure it's very clear if we're gonna go down this road, is who is gonna be financially responsible for the utilities, maintenance, all that. Is it gonna be the senior center for the whole building, or will it be?
There's been a couple models thrown out, and I don't think that we're set on one at this time. So we still have to work all of that out.
Yeah. I mean, in my head, I'd always assumed, and this is a complete assumption, that the senior center would be tenants and would be responsible for their own tenant improvements, kitchen, whatever, build out. But the city, or HURA, whatever, would own the building, and but if we're not allowed to, the city can't receive rent.
No, they can.
Oh,
They can rent space. It's just like a little bit different. They have to. What Lisa was explaining to me is that they can like cover their actual costs, but they can't like make profit off of it, which is a different thing. The senior center can't either. They're a nonprofit, but they can use it for their operating costs, which goes into more programming and stuff like that. So without the ability to lease out their space, they really reduce their ability to do those programs and stuff.
So does that mean a nonprofit would have to be owner of it, or would the city be owner of it, or what's the thinking there? I don't know.
We don't know 100%. That's why I'm being a little elusive. But I think that the latest thinking is that it still would end up being a city, at the end of the day, a city building with the senior center as a long-term tenant. Whether or not they're responsible for a certain amount of tenant improvements, and so all of that is kind of just still being worked out while we figure out even how much this is all going to cost. And of course, HURA has a limited amount that we can fund because we don't have that much money. So, and so the terms of that lease, that long-term lease, is something that we will be involved with, and the city's attorney will be involved with, and Pete will be involved with, and I'm sure the senior center will be involved. So that's something that still has to be worked out.
If they're, just saying, in a condominium style setup like this,
Could do that too.
you could do that, but even to lease out a portion of the building, it would be a little bit more difficult. It would be difficult for the city not to have to pay the utilities and recover that on rent, or assume that, make an assumption the city may need a certain amount of rent to help cover the utilities and taxes and maintenance on that building if they're gonna lease it out to a long-term tenant.
Yeah.
Or you
could triple that.
You could triple that, but it's difficult in a building where the uses are combined.
Yeah.
A little bit, but.
We have to work out who's maintaining the parking lot, which is joint use, to kind of work out all those like smaller details. I think the big picture right now is we've got this limited amount of space, and what does it really need to be?
So really, the HURA is going to be putting together the capital for the building or the improvements, but then it's going to be a contract that the city's going to have with the senior center. So that those are going to be, those are separate. So our responsibility will end after we fund this thing, most likely.
Yes, so I think eventually, the way it's been explained to me, and Pete can jump in if I'm getting this screwed up, is that it might be a lease that HURA negotiates, that then the city assumes when it goes over to, but not that the city wouldn't be involved. Of course they would, because the long-term goal would be that it's the city is the owner. But all through construction and everything, this HURA would own it.
So the city provides their senior center like $36,000 a year. So, the question would be, is that going to continue? And basically, are we going to give them that money and then we give it back to renter? I mean, there's some things that from the city's point of view, we'd like to know, are we going to have still a financial responsibility, or are they going to kind of stand alone financially, which is my hope that they can do.
Right. In talking with the Lake City Center, it's totally viable that they could stand on their own 2 feet if they were allowed to do the sheer amount of programming that they do down there. And I think it sounds like there's a demand for it, because a lot of the Hayden, even Rathdrum area end up going to Lake City Center for their programs.
Who owns the Lake City facility?
They do.
They do.
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
It is different.
Okay.
Because the community room for the city for Coeur d'Alene is at the library. So we're kind of looking at the community room from the Coeur d'Alene library and the Lake City Center getting like mashed into one building.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
getting any feedback on how comfortable they are about being able to raise funds for a project?
Yeah, they've established a capital committee, and Rhonda that toured it with us is the chair of that committee, and so she's got a lot of experience in fundraising, because I didn't know this much about her background, but she was involved for many, many years with the 3 Cs. Maybe you guys are familiar with that, and other groups that she's done a lot of fundraising with. And then also she stayed, Steve and I had to go, but she stayed for the board meeting that they were having, and it just sounded like the Lake City Center board members were really willing to be helpful to, explain to them how they get stuff done there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know the magnitude of what they think they can generate yet. I think we just have to kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Cool.
So do we foresee that a new design or more detailed design by the architect could be given to them, and could they start to run with that and say, we need funds? Who's gonna, because
Yeah.
I don't want to get down the road here a year from now and we don't have enough, or we can't do this. So I don't want to be us spending a lot of money to go down that road, only to find out that they don't have what is needed. So the sooner the better is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that we will keep doing what we originally talked about, which was phase the building. So there are parts of the building that are maybe left as a shell, and so we can build what we can build, and if the rest of it gets finished, it's gonna have to come with other funding or something like that. Just also remember that everything that we've seen so far is like very high level estimates. So as soon as we can kind of get a little bit more refined, we'll have a better idea.
Slightly off topic, but since we're talking about the owl property, as we come into winter time, do we need to be plowing that or maintaining it? We can just leave it alone?
We can just leave it.
Do we need to put any signage up? Maybe it's a Pete question, because I have noticed it is 100% used as overflow parking for businesses there.
Or if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
Oh, sorry.
I'm not suggesting
I
no
think
trespassing.
some signage would be appropriate, to kind of protect the agency from any liability. You know, it wouldn't hurt, definitely going into winter.
Yeah. Can you just check on that for our next meeting, maybe?
Yeah, I will, yep, I just wrote a note.
Yeah, part of the
It's whatever, party drunk.
I just hope that there's not an expectation that, oh, this is city property, they're gonna be calling us and saying, plow it, you know, 'cause that's not our responsibility.
Correct. Sorry to get off topic.
No,
No, that was good.
Good point.
Yeah.
Anything else on the Civic Center that I should be thinking about?
I would think, are they planning on, I have one more question. Are they planning on paying for the engineering and design of of a kitchen that they're going to put in there?
Haven't talked about it yet. I think we'll probably have to have another meeting.
So, that would be an
You know,
expense.
Steve was talking about a lot of times, once you get the dimensions figured out, it's really the people who supply the equipment that kind of do that layout for you. So,
Just has to get done in a timely fashion so that the plumbing matches the plan.
yes, right.
That always helps.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll redo that.
And all the venting and, you know,
And the
yes.
Yeah, they'll have venting.
And yeah, we were surprised, like it requires a lot of cooling, their kitchen does down at Lake City Center. So, all of that, all the drains, yep.
Mhm.
Okay, want to move on to the just other update on everything else?
Yep.
Okay, so at 58 East Orchard, the only thing that's going on is that the AC went out, which now we hardly even need AC, but so they've been working on just getting access to the property to get it fixed. So that's still ongoing as far as I know. I haven't heard that it's been fixed. So I kind of feel like if it must not be that bad if they're if it's that difficult for them to give access. So then I did attend city council. They had a really packed agenda, and what I did in the past was provide a memo in their packet so that if they have a packed agenda and they don't want to, you know, spend the five or 10 minutes of me presenting and they feel like they got what they needed out of the memo, they can just move on, and that's what they decided to do. So that was pretty quick. And then we're getting prepared to start the audit as soon as the fiscal year ends. We're already collecting, having gone through this now 2 previous years, we know the types of things that they ask for, so we're getting that all organized for them. And then we did just receive our new policy documents for iCrimp. So if any of you want to review it, let me know and I will send them to you. I did put my update to council in your packet just so you could see what it was. Pretty brief.
So now that our amendment has passed for the expansion of the district, what happens?
Well, that's just your recommendation to council,
Then-
so it still
then
goes
they
through
go-
council.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission first, and then it goes to the council, Mike.
Okay.
I did read that.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I'm sorry, I tried to answer your question earlier about the red lines in the plan amendment, but I didn't realize my computer was on mute. Yeah. So that's, you could go ahead, yeah, you did the right thing, you could still approve it with those red lines. So.
I figured if you weren't saying anything, it was, you know, because I could just fire away. So.
No, I looked down and I realized it was on mute, so.
Sorry, that's how
about
I
that.
prefer most of my Zoom meetings. So I don't blame you.
That's all you got. Our
That's
next-
it. Our next meeting is on October 20th, and just note that this is the third Monday because the second Monday is Veterans Day. Is that right? Yep. Huh?
That's November.
Oh, I don't know. Something's a holiday in October as well. So it's the third Monday.
Columbus Day.
Oh, Columbus Day. Columbus
Yeah,
Day.
I remember from school days that.
We don't get it off, so I don't. So I don't know what
I
it
think it's been
is.
changed to some other name, but
Yeah.
we know it is Columbus Day.
Okay. I think that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
So moved,
All
yeah.
right.
Thanks.
That's it.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Randy.
I
Thanks, Randy.
need Randy.